Hey, everybody. As promised, here's our weekly kind of rundown to free up some time to read in class. What I'm going to do is share my screen here. We're talking about characters this week. Hopefully you can see this. Here we go. I'll run it from the beginning. Okay. You got to remember that characters in your story, you're not the only character. There are other people, obviously, friends, loved ones, enemies, all kinds of people that you need to account for in your story. We're going to talk a little bit about how to portray them today. One thing you want to think about: desire. What do these characters want? What do they need? Physical, what do they look like? How old are they? Patterns of behavior, what are they into? What are they obsessed over? What do they lose sleep over? Getting inside their head to determine what their mental state is, and portraying action. As always, action speaks louder than words. So I want to start getting you into this mindset of while the story is about you, your supporting cast also makes a big difference in your story. So you need to think about that. There are different types of characters. There's the story's hero. Presumably that's going to be you in your memoir. There's a nemesis. That's the person you could be doing battle with. The anti-hero. Whenever I think of a fictional anti-hero, I think of James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. He was an anti-hero is somebody, they're doing wrong, but you still pull for them. And you can have these kinds of characters in your story. The mentor, the fool, the sidekick, all different kinds of characters factor into your life. So when you're writing, think about the people that are in your story and which category they fall into. Making characters three-dimensional. How do we do this? We create a backstory for them. We think about their backstory. If there's somebody in your life, let's say it was a teacher who's going to be in your story, think about what, by backstory, that's a Hollywood term, meaning basically their origin, where they come from, what makes them what they are, right? So you don't have to write this all down, but as you're writing about characters, think about where they come from, what motivates them, why they matter. It's going to help you create a more three-dimensional portrait of them. You want to always avoid stereotypes and cliches. You want to make, everyone's unique, and you want to represent that accurately when you're writing about them. And you want to make sure your characters all change. In any kind of good narrative writing, every character should go through changes. When you're writing about yourself, if you're the exact same at the end of this story or book as you were at the beginning, that's not a good thing. You want to show change. You want to show growth. And actually, every character within your stories should go through some kind of change or growth. So again, it's not just your story that changes, it's your other characters as well. Creating motivation. How do we push a story forward with our characters and ourselves? How do we make sure that every sentence somehow pushes the ball up the field? You never want a story to just sort of sit and languish. It should always be sort of moving at different speeds, but nevertheless moving forward. We do this with a variety of different motivations, some of which are achievement, companionship, fear, greed, hate, helping others, love, money, personal growth, recognition. There are probably hundreds of motivations we could all list here now. The key is start thinking about them. Think about what's pushing you in your story, what's pushing the other characters as well. Once you figure that out, it becomes easier to write about. Next, a couple of writing exercises to help you create strong characters. Take a character from one of your stories, not you, but somebody else, and list at least 10 ways to suggest what that character's age is without saying the number. It might be what they're wearing. It might be a book they're reading. It might be a piece of music they're listening to. It might be a concert they went to. But this is a great show, not tell exercise. Again, create a list of 10 things that we'd be able to look at that list and then determine how old that character is within a couple of years. Interview your characters. Not as an assignment for next week, but think about if you were going to sit down and literally talk to, which you may do, you may track down people in your story and talk to them to make sense of their version of it, to help you kind of figure out your version of it. So think about either literally interviewing them or doing almost an imaginary interview with your characters. Again, The more you know about them, the easier the story is going to be to write. Create a character inventory, a list of characters, and next to that character, next to each character, name, strength, personal history, backstory. When they make movies and TV shows, every character, there's always a documentation of who they are and what they're about, so that as the story goes into production, they can always look at that description and make sure it's consistent and that person, that character is being accurately represented. You want to do the same thing when you're writing memoir. Good dialogue, what does it do? It advances the plot. Dialogue, of course, is just two people talking. Many of you have incorporated very effective dialogue already in stories in class, but I want to go through it a little bit right now. Good dialogue advances plot. It provides relief from walls of text. Believe it or not, our eyes get tired just reading dense text. And when you've got dialogue, it breaks up that tedium of just words and block paragraphs and things. It adds white space, it helps the story breathe, but probably most importantly is it advances plot and it allows you to give voice to characters. And I think we naturally like to eavesdrop on conversations. Even if we say we don't, we do. If we hear something interesting at a table nearby or something, we will try and pick up on that conversation. Good dialogue does just that. It allows us to eavesdrop on characters in a story and learn what they're really thinking. So 4 types of dialogue. Summary dialogue, no specific words, just kind of a summary of it. For instance, Tom told his father he was going to the baseball game that night. We don't see the words, but we know that Tom told his dad he was going. So we can ascertain basically what he was thinking and saying. Summary dialogue. Indirect dialogue gives a sense of the words, but not verbatim. Example, Tom found his friend Al at the baseball game. Al was thrilled. He told his old friend how happy he was to see him after all those years. So again, we're not getting into quoting people yet, but we're just sort of giving an abstract sense of what the conversation is. 3, direct dialogue, most common, most precise. Example, I was spent from the heat. Quote, may I please have a glass of lemonade? Unquote, I asked the waitress. Of course, she said with a smile. You look like you need it. Sparse, vivid, revealing. People wonder sometimes if dialogue has to be exactly what was said. Of course, it can't be. We didn't go around recording conversations 30 years ago. What you want to do with dialogue is best, best represented as you best remember it. So let it serve the story. And as long as you're writing the essence or feeling you remember from that dialogue, you are good to go. 4, combination using all 3 together. Summary, indirect, and direct dialogue. Example, Tom was happy to be at the ball game. He told himself he shouldn't let so much time go by next time before getting tickets. And he also made Al promise they wouldn't be such strangers. 8 years is too long for former college roommates to not see each other. He laughed to Al. So again, there you see all 3 being used in one example. And you can, use whatever works for you. I mean, direct is the most common and the most effective, but you can combine things and play around with it. It's all about whatever makes your story move forward, whatever advances the plot. That's the kind of dialogue you want to use. Dialogue assignment. Take 1 to 2 pieces you have written in this class and add some dialogue where it doesn't exist. Take an existing story, find a moment of conversation, and create a couple of paragraphs of fresh, new, inspired dialogue. Be sure it advances the plot and it doesn't just sit there. So those are your assignments for this week. We'll do more reading. Let's see, it's Tuesday. So tomorrow night when I see you, thank you for watching this. I'm going to stop my share and I will stop recording and hope you all have a good rest of the day.